We were doing speaker series on education for 21st century learning at Sierra Nevada College. And we had 100 people with Mary Danahay. They're coming and showcasing what the future of education looks like. 12 years later, or whatever the years are, we're still trying to do it because this is a monster challenge. The changing of a system like education is a Herculean task because it's been around for 100 years the way it is. And the systems were built for factory-based education. So for the last years, my mission has gotten stronger and stronger. Because of my children, because of the experiences they had, because of their friends, I realized my calling after getting my doctoral degree was to help the transition to the future of education. And so this is the evolution over 2 years of a concept of a statewide approach to doing this. So here in Incline Village is a unique opportunity to be at the forefront of the future of education. And this is a team of students that we want to recruit to help us design the future of education, because as we were talking about before we started this, our kids are the digital age. They grow up with it, they know it better than we older people. They know best how they learn. They know best what is the thing that's going to grab their attention and their excitement about learning. And we want to help nurture that and empower it. So I'm going to jump right in, and the way the presentation is structured, okay, now I have to go to the next slide. Oh, there we go. The way we're structured is, I'm going to, go through the background, the theory of what we're doing, and then we'll also have a little experiential exercise. So our mission with Thrive Labs Network is where selfpreneurs turn passion and talent into powerful purpose and action in community. And I want to point out one thing. Action in community is a fundamental different thing than we've been doing with education. We haven't been connecting well to how do we improve our community, how do we bring our community members together in the learning experience. And then the third piece, or the second part of that, is tying education to career, so that we know, so that kids know why they're learning, what they're learning. So that's kind of our master vision plan. Now I was going to do an idea storm, but since we're not, this was meant to be a simulated workshop, but because of our time and because of our size, I'll just show you what we would be doing during the design piece of the workshops that we're going to be doing in the October break. Basically, we look at peak and pit, and we say, what was awesome about your peak experience from learning? Who were you doing it with? What were you doing, and how were you doing it? And then what was like one of the worst things you've ever done, in education? And then we learn from the empathy of the positive, and how do we reinforce the positive. So the master vision plan is to have a fall break session with 10 kids, then to have 30 kids do the semester to the end of December. Then to have, beyond that, expand it. Once we have a prototype, this is the terminology we're using, prototyping means we're practicing and developing it as we go. And so by the end of the year, the end of the spring, if we do another round of it, we will have a proposal for Thrive Labs that we can then sort of raise the money to help. The kids will go and help us raise the money to build them. That's the ideal. So the flyer that's in front of you, I think more like this one, that one is yes, you got it all. That's kind of an overview of what the whole concept of Thrive Lab is, what the terminology, what it means to be a selfpreneur, and how we're going to do it through real world projects and tapping passion and talent. So inside that flyer, you also see this definition of a selfpreneur. It's on the second page. I think it's on, is it right there? Yeah. So it's right on the front side. But the mission is that to understand that we have it within us. Everyone is a selfpreneur. And I'm probably blocking the screen, sorry about that. And it's really about individualized learning plans. From passion to talent, and to purpose. So that the motivation for learning is deeply embedded in everything the kids do. So what are the gaps we're filling by nurturing selfpreneurs? Basically, 21st century jobs require that everyone understand who they are, what their passion and talents are, so that they can be self-directed in their lives. And in collaboration is such a top skill set that companies are asking for now. How can we collaborate and solve problems in the world together as kids in learning as well as in their workplace? This idea of soft skills, everybody's heard of soft skills, like emotional intelligence, and can you relate well to other people? Can you have empathy? Can you be a good citizen in the workplace, in the school? So those are things we're building, including wellness, how do I take care of myself, and work-life balance. How do I not stay up till 3 in the morning like I've been doing? And I'm sorry, I'm actually not in front of the screen, Mary, I realized. I'll try to do better. And the capacity to succeed, thrive, and flourish in learning, career, and life. And so we're building capacity. We're not building knowledge and skills as much as it is the capacity to learn the knowledge and the skills. And important thing that the state and the districts are recognizing is that kids need to do this early. They're saying 5th grade, ideally, to begin this process of understanding who am I, what's my role in my community. They need universal access, though, to the opportunities to explore their career and their interests. And they also need universal access to coach team to help them with their social, emotional, mental, physical, and career development. So that's different than a teacher who has 25, 30 kids, God forbid, for 45 minutes or an hour, and they're giving instruction, and they're giving information, and they're giving assessments, and they're giving some practices in the classroom and some homework. But are they truly coaching the kids to be more well-balanced whole people? This is what we need, kind of counselors for everyone. And guess what? Turns out kids are their best counselors. So social learning, most of learning happens in 75% is social learning. So if the kids can learn from themselves in effective ways, then that's the goal we really want to build towards. And so that's why we have personal learning plans. Because unless you have personal learning plans for each student to know who they are and what they're trying to grow toward, where their gaps are, where their career goals are, where their life and their community is going to be. If we don't have that, then we don't have sort of this unleashing of potential that we're going after for every kid to be the best that they are capable of. So a selfpreneur definition, I didn't say this before, designer, creator, and collaborative self-developer of one's best life of service to society. So it's like the Army says, right? Be all that you can be. We believe everyone should be all that they can be. And then we have this is a little more detail of the previous diagram. The motivation, my coach team, my plan, my real projects, my capacity portfolio, and my growth plan goals. My capacity portfolio is actually a lifelong learning. I'm trying to put that. It's actually a lifelong learning goal here, because we're talking about students starting in middle school, but lifelong. They have a learning plan. They're accruing skills and competencies that they can continuously do. Now, if they're switching jobs, if they're growing in their existing job, if they're getting a new position, they can come back to the Thrive Lab and retrain and rebuild their capacities to mastery as needed for each job. So, come on. Why are we doing? Okay. So the other piece of paper you have, that colorful diagram of this, yes, that one you're looking at, good. That is kind of our holy grail, because we've compiled with Bill, my team. I haven't even mentioned my wonderful team members, but Bill Bryan has been in this space of personal development, leadership development, organization development, and most recently, superintendents and education leadership focused. So together we've been compiling his 40 years of experience with my only 25 years of experience to Eva and Priya Alwad, who co-founded EIC with me. She's a 2-time Masters of Education Leadership and Special Education, Early Education, previously taught dentistry in Asia and in India and England, and she came to this recognition that every kid should have an individual learning plan. An IEP is what they call it. Right now, only about 15% of kids get a special plan because of the special need they have, disability, or some reason they need it for health also. We believe everyone should have their own plan, and they should also have really top-notch goals on their plan. And that means being self-developer, being a scientist scholar, being a creator activist, being a community builder, and an innovator designer. And these are the 5 competencies that I researched for my doctoral work. And this is the essence of what makes for a growing, strong human. And in the middle, you'll see the capacities: thinking, visioning, feeling, and doing. And then in the very middle is integrating. And if you've all heard of the concept of self-actualization, or what's another term, a peak of the Maslow's hierarchy in Psychology 101, it's when we find who we truly are in the world and why, it's sort of like why we're here. But to get to be the most high-performing human, you have to integrate all the ways we know and are and do. So that's why think of it as a spiral. And in fact, I have a spiral on the next page. I think it's coming up. So this is more detail on the flip side of the page that you just have. You have a lot more actual descriptors in there because that's our most comprehensive snapshot of what we're calling our rubric for developing selfpreneurs. And so this is a unique framework that we will be utilizing within the Selfpreneur Development Program. And so imagine 5 levels of development within each of these. And kids will help to self-assess. They'll work with their team members to give feedback to each other about how well they think their desire for improvement, growth mindset, cultivating flow states, leader self-image. There are terms on this chart that you will not see in any current assessment system for education, because we're bringing and tying academic to workplace to life learning. So it's a very innovative. I wanted to point one thing out: cultivating flow states. Now, who here has heard of flow? Like one. You've heard of flow state. Where do you think, Linda? Where is it that you've heard it used?
Yoga.
Yeah, flow yoga.
No, I don't know.
Exactly. No, that's true. That's like when you get into the flow and it's just like it's effortless and it's like fun, and sports they do it all the time. Coaching.
I used to call it the zone.
The zone.
Flow.
I was just talking to Lila Lapagna, who's going for the Olympics and skiing, And she totally has this practice around getting in the zone, and she can tell totally when she isn't, and how to hone that is what makes for a great athlete. So in learning and in workplace, we can do it too. In fact, I have a peak experience from my workplace at Digital Equipment where it was the hardest meeting I ever went into. It was like trying to get cats to cooperate, and I knew it was a very low chance of it being successful. But I got in there, and I'm just like, I don't care if it goes well or not. Something magical happened where everyone was laughing and teasing each other on the, like there were two sides of the fight, so to speak. But by the end, someone came up to me afterwards and said, that was the funnest meeting I've ever had. What did you do to make that happen? And you know, honestly, I was humble about it from the beginning. I said, you guys, I know you guys aren't gonna come to agreement. You know, we just laughed about it from the beginning, but it loosened them up and it gave them like, you know, maybe we should try to do something together. And so it ended up being a moment for me, a peak moment where I said, every meeting could be that. Every classroom could be that. Every project could be that. And we know, what do we think about projects? Do you like doing projects, Mia?
Yeah.
Would you say it's okay?
Yeah, it always makes it a lot more exciting to learn, and it always makes it a lot easier to absorb the information and understand what's going on when you do a project, rather than just reading out of a textbook.
Exactly. You know, so we want it to be more engaging overall. But some people complain. A lot of kids tell me, my kids tell me, it's the hardest thing they do because what if you don't gel as a team? What if you have conflicting ideas about how the project should go, right? And then you have to figure out how to massage each other's perspectives into something that works. And it can be painful, but when you make that massage happen, it can be fun suddenly. So that's kind of the goal we're going for in education. And that's what this spiral is. It shows ideation, planning, prototyping, sensing, and iteration again. Design cycle. We're actually branding a concept called collaborative action, research, and design. It's like taking project-based learning from K-12 terminology to design thinking in the workplace to human development, which is the iterative learning cycle of it's actually self-organizing learning. So that's the macro perspective. And by the way, if anyone sees something you have a question on, will you please stop and ask? I should have said that from the beginning. So the Thrive ecosystem is all of the players working collaboratively together. So you've got the post-secondary providers, K-Ed, K-12, community service organizations, helping with human health and wellness, economic development, workforce development is in this category. So like veterans, getting veterans back to work or out of, if they've been laid off and unemployed, then these organizations are helping. There's like 400 of them in Northern Nevada. It's an amazing network of people. Community members, parents, students, employees, and entrepreneurs are all part of this Thrive Lab. Yeah, please have some snacks while you're there. Government, social org, leaders, policymakers, and employers. Everyone is part of the Thrive ecosystem. And that's something nobody is doing right now, is pulling everybody together. That's a huge lift for EIC, but it is our mission. And we're putting together a master plan to go after the $7.6 billion that Nevada has coming to it through the American Recovery Plan Act. So there's money there, and what do they want to see to spend the money? They want to see that these groups are collaborating like we showed on the last page. They want to see that individuals are growing and thriving. They want to see updated ways of learning, like projects. They want to see the community engaged in coaching the young people, and they want to see the revitalization of the places where this learning is happening. And the community-based learning concept is where we are actually, you know, at the cutting edge of all my research that I've been doing over the last years. What we're proposing as a Thrive Lab is not being done anywhere, but there are bits and pieces of it that I'm stealing ideas from. But people are telling us, like, oh my God, I want to work with you because you're doing something that needs to happen and no one's doing it. So we are excited that the feedback we're getting is really promising to do this Thrive Town concept in a network. And I don't want to be redundant because we've seen these words before, but you can see it in the system. The students come with their selfpreneur team. They come into the Thrive Town Learning Lab. They either come in as a teacher-led group. They can come in and explore the different career paths. Student teams can do the design work on their own with their projects, or they can meet with mentors in career development. So there'll be stations, career stations, where every industry, every sector of society is represented, and every employer has a space within where kids can learn about what it's like to work for that employer through project-based learning, progressive. They'll build and validate their competencies in a portfolio. They'll basically be able to flip around to 10 different career paths. So if they try one in 5th grade for engineering pathway, nah, that was no fun because I don't want to build stuff. Okay, go over here, try. Do you guys know the movie Soul? The animated movie Soul got all the awards for music and stuff. The souls in that movie try a lot of stuff out, and they might burn up it's all in virtual world. So if they burn up a building as a firefighter because they're not cut out for it, who cares? It was all in the virtual world. It was play. So that's the environment we're setting up here. Playful exploration of who we are, what we love to do, and just learn about life, global life. Kids will be on teams with kids from all over the world, so they can do cross-cultural learning. And over time, we build up a whole I hate the term database, but a whole repository hub of all of these engaged learning experiences. And then Coach Team Hub, anyone in the community who wants to be a coach in any of the areas of wellness or career, they can sign up to be a coach on the hub. And it could be a marketplace of exchange. So if a learner is looking for someone to be a coach with, and there can be an exchange of funding that happens at that level rather than the hierarchical funding level, the way we do it now, right? From the state to from the US to the state to the district to the school. So we're talking a very hybrid version of what learning ecosystem really means. So I'm gonna go faster now through these after I cover secret sauce number 4, which is the fact of technology being critical to making all of what we've just talked about possible. Nothing of what I've said could be possible unless we used state-of-the-art technology. So one thing Kate will talk about in a moment, and the next page, is interactive simulations via virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, and now there's a new term, social XR, which is how do you learn your social emotional skills through virtual reality. Role play, build your skills, practice until perfect, activate the emotions, that's when deep learning truly happens. Enhance memory, brain function, do trial and error, prototype stuff, discover what works fast, and move on. So you're not going to college thinking you want to be an engineer or a lawyer, and then find out, no, sorry, don't want to do it, I wasted all that time. and lawyer, it's masters, you know, a lot of people who start law school, how many people do I know who started law school and never finished it? It's just, I realized I don't like it. So we're gonna play with all the disciplines before. I think, yeah, so achieve the flow state, that's a goal, and VR is one of the more immersive ways to get into a flow state, a true feeling. And then gamify challenges, deepen engagement and fun, and then there's storytelling. Kids can tell their stories of what they're learning for the public, and that is one of the biggest ways to solidify learning, is telling your story of the learning to other people, teaching it to other people, engaging other people in it. And so this is, the bottom one is the most important in my sense of student-powered learning plans. Every student has to have their own plan. That's a whole new system from what we have now. So it's a lot to do. Now, let's see about the Oculus. I'm excited to introduce Kate Wesher to show us about a headset that is the state-of-the-art, top-of-the-line, virtual reality. And what's it called, Kate?
This one's called the Oculus Quest 2. There's multiple companies who do it, but this one's like the general one. That's one of the newer.
Yes. And it's a standalone, so it doesn't need to be hooked into a computer.
It's a standalone console, so it doesn't need to be hooked into the computer, but there's a bunch of extra games that you can only do if you're hooked into the computer. That it'll mirror and show on the screen. I was not able to set that up
Okay.
with the computer.
Oh, so there's nothing to show.
Well, you can show. I want to show some of the games that it shows here. Like, for example, there's like loads like this National Graphic Explore VR. So you can. So basically, the way a VR headset works is you put it on like this, and then you have controllers here. And so I can't see anything, but there's cameras inside of this headset that make it look as if what I'm looking around right now is a completely virtual world, but it looks as if it's from my own vision. But I can't see where anybody is sitting or what's in the room, but I see a completely different world where we can use these controllers to navigate it separately. There are certain ways that you can mirror it to show it on the computer. I wasn't able to figure that out since we use the computer over here. But there's a bunch of different games and educational programs that you can get on the Oculus. And one of these are some of them are really cool and run through really good educational organizations. Like National Geographic. Like this one is an Explore VR, so you can go anywhere that National Geographic has photographed, and you'll get a 360-degree view as if you were there. Another one that I wasn't able to find, but I saw when I was looking through some of these at home, it was by the Smithsonian, and it was a experience called the Smithsonian Venice. And looking at it more, it's a free program where basically there's a videographed tour of Venice, like 5 different tours around Venice with this guide who works with the Smithsonian. And as he's actively talking to you, you have an interactive tour where it'll be like a gondola tour, and the tour guide will be sitting there explaining facts and history about the city to you as you have a 360-degree view of this gondola tour as if you were there. And there's other more like cartoony games for like, here, let's see here, if you just go to the search bar, you just search educational. You can get there. Yeah. But there are other more cartoony games that could also work for younger kids. Like, I also saw this game that like simulated natural selection where it was like really colorful butterflies, and it was like a mini game where you had to catch them with nets. And it would give you statistics, and you'd have to like which one, like a bar graph of like which one survived more, and you'd have to like predict which one would last more the next time. And it was like a fun interactive mini game you could do to like catch these butterflies. So there's a bunch of different experiences that you can do. There was another one that was one of the better ones where you can experience color blindness, where it puts you in this garden and you can choose from these different types of color blindness on different scales and see what that looks like, and you know, like go shopping and try to find the difference between like a lemon and lime. Or another one was like a roller coaster through like a human body, and it would like give you a tour of like different parts of the human body and cells, and it was interactive, and you could like around and,
Yeah, here's the plant cell one. Is this the one you've done?
no, but it's
Okay.
something similar.
Yeah, and it's free and you can kind of explore inside the cell as you go. Yeah. So what would you say that you have, the story you told me about was sitting on the edge of a cliff or something, climbing?
Yes, there was, this game called The Climb, which is more just like a recreational game. But you put the headset on and it puts you like 600 feet above the ground on this one wooden platform, like at the Grand Canyon. And you have to like play this new game to like climb up. But it's like, it feels like you're that high up. Like I tried playing that and my legs were shaking and I had to like sit down. It's like even though I knew I was standing on my own floor, it looked and felt like I was somewhere.
It's spooky, isn't it? Jen, you was saying it was like,
I couldn't even take a step.
Like, on our
I
own
completed
floor,
some
and
of the
I was just,
levels.
like,
It was
standing
really
like,
fun,
kind of-
actually.
Yeah.
did it give you nausea or did it give you
No,
like,
it made me terrified.
so the adrenaline kicked in?
Yeah. That one's one of the scarier ones though, just because I don't like heights and neither did she, but.
Yeah. Okay, well, this is exactly the direction though education is going.
It's also it can also be very collaborative. Like, this is my brother's headset, so he plays on it a lot with his friends. And one of these programs that I saw earlier was like a language learning one, where like you can learn a bunch of different languages in here.
And interact with people like so that's the other powerful part of this is multi-user,
Yes,
right?
is you can connect to people across the world and interact with them and talk to them.
Yes.
And it also can help develop social skills for people who have social anxiety and don't like talking to people and like making eye contact. Because it's a way that you can kind of simulate a real world experience without actually having to be there. And it's a good way to help discover different ways to talk to people that's easier for people who are nervous about that.
So it's interesting that you mentioned that because Dylan Watkins is the founder of Reality Smash. He's training and building VR for social emotional learning, and I had a video that I was going to show, but I think we need to move on. But what we have, Kate, I just learned today. Yeah, you're good.
Alright.
What we learned today, Kate, was that he's willing to do we're working it out, the details, but a 4-week pilot where teens can start learning how to program for VR. So one of the first ones they recommend we do because they want to create it themselves is a multiplayer game to develop skills of collaboration and conflict resolution. So think about how Incline could be a better place if we knew how to handle conflict better.
Actually, there's a good example of that where you can definitely make it better for an educational thing, but there's this game that, again, my brother plays a lot since it's his headset. And it's called Echo VR, and I don't know if you guys have read Ender's Game, but they have like this zero gravity like mini game where they go